Every year, governments release budgets detailing trillions in spending. We see where the money goes for roads, healthcare, and education. But the most impactful actions, the ones that shift the course of history, leave no public receipt. Wars are influenced, governments are destabilized, and elections are tilted, all without a single invoice ever surfacing. The real question isn't whether spies run secret missions. It's how are these operations paid for in a world that demands public accountability? To find the answer, we have to look past the spy movie myths and into the financial and legal systems built to move money without leaving fingerprints. The story of modern intelligence funding begins not in some shadowy conspiracy, but with fear. After World War II, the world split into ideological camps. The Cold War wasn't just fought on battlefields, it was fought in bank accounts and supply chains. Both the US and the Soviet Union realized that traditional military budgets were too slow and too visible for this new kind of warfare. Covert action needed deniability, and deniability needed money that could move without explanation. The first solution was structural, legally sanctioned secrecy. Governments created classified budgets, what's known in the US as the black budget. Congress approved it, but only a handful of people ever saw the details. Oversight existed, but it was narrow, insulated, and built on trust. This was the first pillar. But secrecy alone wasn't enough. Once the money left the official books, it still had to travel through the real-world banks, contractors, and foreign partners. This is where things got complicated. The second pillar was outsourcing. Intelligence agencies learned that operations are harder to trace when the government isn't the one directly handling the cash. Private defense contractors, logistics firms, and anonymous shell companies became financial buffers. The government paid a company. The company paid a subcontractor, who then hired the assets on the ground. With each step, accountability became more and more blurry. By the 1960s, an agency could simply fund a program, which then funded a contract, which then funded the activity. Officially, it was just procurement. In reality, it was financing a secret war. But even this system had its limits. Congress could still cut funding. Auditors could ask tough questions, and a major scandal could bring the whole thing crashing down. So, a third pillar was developed: self-financing operations. During the high-stakes end of the Cold War in the 1980s, certain intelligence-linked operations started generating their own revenue. Arms sales, resource deals, and covert partnerships created financial loops that didn't rely on government appropriations. Money flowed from conflict zones right back into operational budgets. Sometimes with quiet political approval, and sometimes without it. This wasn't about agencies going rogue, it was about them gaining financial autonomy. Secrecy was no longer just about hiding things from the public. It was about fragmenting knowledge within the system itself so that no single person knew the full story. After the Cold War, the world of intelligence funding evolved again. The fourth pillar was international cooperation. Alliances allowed agencies to share costs and risks. One country might provide the money, another the manpower, and a third, plausible deniability. If an operation was exposed, the blame could be spread across multiple nations, diluting the fallout for any single government. This financial multilateralism had a side effect. It normalized secrecy. When everyone involved benefits from silence, transparency itself becomes the enemy. Then, the world changed forever on September 11, 2001. The war on terror demanded speed and flexibility, which in turn required money that could move instantly. Classified budgets swelled, and emergency authorizations became common. Entire financial pipelines were rebuilt under the banner of urgency. This era introduced the fifth pillar: financial surveillance itself. Intelligence agencies weren't just being funded by secret money anymore. They began controlling the global flow of money. By embedding themselves in the world's financial systems, tracking transactions, freezing assets, and monitoring banks, they gained unprecedented power. This helped security, but it also created leverage. Information became power, and that power shaped funding. At this point, the line between funding and control completely blurred. Modern intelligence agencies don't just receive money. They shape the financial environments they operate in. Through sanctions, regulatory influence, quiet partnerships with banks. They operate in legal gray zones areas that are technically lawful, but practically impossible to observe. Funding is no longer about moving a suitcase full of cash. It's about enabling conditions. Frozen account here, a licensed transaction there, a quiet exception approved behind closed doors. The system pays for itself. This brings us to a difficult truth. Secret operations aren't funded by a single hidden source. They're funded by a complex ecosystem of legal secrecy, contractual distance, self-financing, allied cost-sharing, and systemic financial control. Each layer was built for a rational reason, in response to real threats. But together, they create a structure where democratic oversight struggles to keep up with reality. We debate whether intelligence agencies should have power, but the real question is whether anyone truly understands how that power is paid for. Today, as cyber operations replace boots on the ground, secrecy is even easier. Digital infrastructure is cheaper to move and easier to hide. Tracing a cyber-attack or a disinformation campaign back to its source is incredibly difficult. Financial trails dissolve into encrypted systems and complex contracts that cross multiple jurisdictions. The future of covert funding will look clean, legal, and invisible. And that is precisely the point. In the end, intelligence agencies don't operate outside the state. They operate in its blind spots, funded not by some grand mystery, but by deliberate design. The paradox remains: the more transparent our society becomes, the more sophisticated its secrets must be to survive. And somewhere, between the public budgets we can see and the private power we can't, the money keeps moving, quietly shaping our world, one untraceable transaction at a time. Thanks for watching. If you found this exploration of the hidden world of finance and espionage interesting, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the systems that shape our reality. See you next time.